Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am here today to talk to you guys about how to learn languages fast, how I speak 7 languages and how you can do the same. Like I mentioned in my previous video, I am really passionate about languages. I'm really interested in them, learning them. As you can see from my channel, I really just like talking. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let's just get on with that. The first thing that I will say, to start off this whole video, the more languages that you speak, the easier it is to learn another one. I'm learning Arabic at the moment, and it's easier for me because I already speak Kiswahili and there are similarities between that. Also, not just because of the similarities that you draw, but also the skills that you build up with learning language. You will be able to apply them into the next one. Oh, I knew how to achieve this by doing this, so I will repeat that. And understanding how you learn, you personally, how you learn language. So if you are trying to learn a language and you don't know which language to learn, you should maybe do some research onto what language is the easiest to learn based on the languages that you already speak. My dad always mentions that learning one language helps you to speak the language that you already know better. For example, with Arabic and Swahili, like I'm learning Arabic, and sometimes you learn something and you're like, oh, so that's where that Swahili came from. So you understand, when you're speaking Swahili, you understand why you're saying stuff more, and like things make more sense to you. The first thing I'll say that is important to learning languages, just important in learning anything, not just languages, is consistency. The way you see the most effective progress is when you are consistent with whatever you're trying to do. So you're able to be like, oh, I was learning French for a month, doing it every day. I managed to achieve this. I think also consistency helps with keeping you motivated to continue, because when you have a routine, it becomes easier to remember to continue to do your hour every day or do however long, you know? It becomes easier to remember, to keep up with it. Be strict on yourself with consistency. That is the first thing that I'll say. For me personally, I learned Arabic on a site called italki, which for the month of February, there was an italki challenge where you were able to set yourself a goal of how many hours to do within the month, and there were specific selections that you could choose from, options for you to choose from. I chose 24 hours, which was the max. Because I had to achieve those 24 hours by the end of the month, it made me super duper consistent. I have seen the most improvement within my Arabic within the month of Feb because of that. I'll talk a little bit more about italki later on in the video. The second thing I'll say is using an app, especially if you are like an avid phone user like me. If you use your phone all the time and if you always have it on you, using an app will be so convenient, helpful. It is just very convenient because your phone is always on you. As soon as you know you have 2 minutes, you're waiting for something, you're in the doctor's office, you've been told to wait a little bit, you're meeting someone and they aren't there yet, you're waiting for them. You know you will pick up your phone because you use your phone all the time, and why not use your phone for something constructive? An app that I would recommend for that is Duolingo, because it always gives you reminders to come back for your lessons and to do them. Also, I think Duolingo is good for that because you have the option to do things for even just 2 minutes, for 5 minutes. And also another reason that Duolingo is good is because for the same thing, you can choose to do only like 5 minutes of your day and do that every day. And it's much better than bulking it. A lot of people talk about how it is much more effective to do a little bit of work every day than to do masses of work over longer periods of time, if that makes sense. It keeps your mind, it keeps all the memory fresh. Just keep things within the forefront of your mind so that it's harder to forget them. The third thing that I will say, which is I think one of the most effective ways of learning a language, going on an excursion to somewhere where you have no option but to learn the language, or just going somewhere where you will have no option but to speak that language. So that is how I learned French. I was in the French school. You literally do everything in French. All your subjects are in French. You don't have any other option but to speak French. I had to learn because I was really, really struggling. And I was in a lot of situations where not speaking English cost me, like how in my previous video I mentioned.
What is that embarrassing childhood memory? I've told this story so many times. I will never forget the time that I peed my pants.
In grade 2, year 3. That was horrible. That happened because my teacher didn't let me leave the class until I asked to go to the bathroom in French. And I didn't know how to say that, so you will learn. You will make sure you never make those mistakes again. Like, I never forgot how to say, could I please go to the bathroom? Going to another country will just force you to speak that language. You will pick it up fast. It also helps with building the accent, learning how to speak it like a native. There are things that you cannot learn through anything but actually just throwing yourself into that culture and throwing yourself around people from that place. Like, for example, in English, people tend to say like a lot.
Don't you think though it's like a little like, would you go out of the country with someone you've never met before, or like that you don't know? Like, when are we supposed to do this?
Why are you so like hesitant?
But you wouldn't be able to translate that in Swahili. Somebody in Swahili would not say kama like 10 times throughout their sentence. An example of that is how in French, people say en fait a lot. So they'll be like, ben en fait, si en fait, you know, and en fait is in fact. So people don't say that in English. You know, you can't directly translate, and those are things that you will not learn in class. Also, there are things that you do that you don't even realize that you do. A person who you're speaking to in that language will pick up on the fact that you're not a native. For example, in English, when you hurt yourself, you're like, ow. But in French, it's I. In English, you say when you're thinking. But in French, it's more like You know, those are the sort of things that you pick up and the mannerisms that you pick up while being around the people. If you integrate more, you'll be able to speak more like a native because you pick up on those mannerisms. The fourth thing that I will say that is effective as well is doing things that you love within that language. So what do you love doing within your own language, and then do it within the language that you're trying to learn, and then it won't feel like you're trying to learn it. It won't feel like a task. So if you like listening to music, playing music within the language that you're trying to learn throughout your day is something that will, you know, you'll be learning the language subconsciously. It won't feel like an actual task. You won't have to sit down to actively learn. Or if you enjoy writing in your diary, write in your diary in that language that you're trying to learn. Watching movies. Also, it's very similar to what I was saying about going on an excursion. Watching movies is so helpful, especially like movies based in that country. Watching shows that you've already watched from beginning to end, and then now you watch it again in the language that you're trying to learn. So you already understand the jokes, you already understand the storyline, so you're not going to be lost the whole time. You will enjoy doing it. Also, like I said before, if you are an avid phone user, then you should also set your phone into that language. You will get lost in your phone and eventually you'll figure it out. Another thing that I'll say is quite useful is doing an activity in that language right when you wake up and right before you sleep. Talking to yourself is actually good for a multitude of reasons, but also for learning languages. If you're about to go to sleep, tell yourself about your day, tell yourself what you did or what you plan on doing tomorrow. A lot of people have also spoken about how when they do that, they end up having dreams within the language that they're trying to learn. Like I've said before, it helps to keep the language at the forefront of your mind so that it's always there. Like you're just always thinking about it. I'll also say that something that I found really helpful, although some people might find it complicates things more, is breaking down phrases and sentences in order to understand them. I've used French as an example a lot in this video, but I teach people French, I tutor people, and I'll be like, oh, so what do you know in French? And they're like, comment ça va? Like, comment ça va? When you learn a phrase like that without understanding comment, without understanding ça, and without understanding va, understanding each part will help you to build more sentences and will also help you to remember the actual phrase. So when you understand that comment means how and ça means it and va means go, like how's it going, it'll make more sense as to why you're saying it, not just like gibberish. The last thing I'll say that is so important is just having the confidence to make mistakes and having the confidence to just keep trying, because actually I feel like the most learning that happens with a language is just speaking. Even when you're making mistakes, even when you don't really know what to say, just practicing with the words that you do know, not waiting until you know enough words to make a sentence. Just making sentences with the few words you know, even if it's broken up, because that is how you know which words you don't know, and then you go and learn them. That is how you build the confidence to then speak without hesitation. And hesitation is what makes people realize that you are not confident within the language. It's not your first language. It's something that helps me. I don't know if this sounds wild. I feel like it's also kind of like acting. I will go into my French oral exam and my Spanish oral exam for A-level and for IGCSE, like with some different kind of energy. Like I was just overdoing. Like my teacher could ask me the most basic question. She'd be like, oh, bonjour Missy, comment ça va? I'd be like, oh mais c'est une bonne question ça, comment ça va? Je vais bien, oui. You know, like just overdoing, because I feel like it kind of puts you in this sort of mood. You feel more confident when you're talking. Just imitating people you have seen talking in that language who are from that place and acting like them is something that, for me personally, builds confidence within that language. Guys, actually, if you've ever done this, or if you feel the same way as me, if you feel like you have also sort of done this or thought about this way, please just leave me a comment and let me know too, because I swear I can't be alone. So now I will just speak to you guys about 3 apps that I've used, why I find them helpful. The first one I'll talk about is Duolingo. I'll mention that first because I feel like most people know this app already. I think it's really useful if you're trying to do quick activities, a lot of fun, helpful activities that involve speaking, listening, writing, reading. Also has podcasts and short stories that you can listen to. I think Duolingo is a really good app. It's also free. The only thing I would say about Duolingo is I don't think it goes very deeply into languages. It covers the sort of basics. If you're trying to learn the basics or not trying to go very much in depth with specific things, I think Duolingo is perfect. It's really, really good. The second app that I will talk about that I've mentioned already before is italki. So the idea with italki is that anybody can be a tutor. You just have to provide your qualifications. You set up your account and everything, and people will be able to see you, your qualifications, your rates as a tutor. That's how I learn Arabic. Like my teacher is in Lebanon, for example. If you're trying to learn a language and you can't find a tutor in your country and you really want a tutor, I really, really recommend italki. Also for people who are trying to teach a language online, then italki should be really useful. The last site that I'll talk about is Langalia. So Langalia is a site that I use to learn Spanish. I think it's really good because it's sort of a classroom sort of vibe. The only thing that I will say is that you don't have a speaking practice. It has listening, it has reading, it has writing, but it goes into depth. You do an assessment test at the beginning of it. Based on your level, you get work. It's a lot of work. So you wouldn't run out of work. Italki and Langalia you would have to pay for, but Duolingo is free. So those are my top 3 apps that I enjoy using. I hope this video was really helpful to you guys. A lot of people have asked me about how to learn language fast, how I do, and that is essentially how I do it. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on that post notification bell, and yes, I'll see you in the next video, whenever that is. Bye!